Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me for yet another episode. So, today's episode, we're going to dive into understanding and the importance of your boundaries. You respecting your own boundaries as well as enforcing others to respect them is a very important role in your healing journey. A lot of us look at silence as a enabler because many of us can get lost in our thoughts. But silence recognizes the baby steps your healing journey can make. So, what is boundaries in reflection to your life anyway? Boundaries are rules or guidelines that tell others how you want to be treated, what's acceptable, and what isn't. A boundary can be a request for someone to change their behavior. For example, you telling somebody, don't yell at me, or I don't like you coming in late, or I don't like how you make me feel when you do XYZ. Those are setting important boundaries for yourself. Or a boundary can be something you do to protect yourself, like blocking people from your phone if you have to, because you don't want that negative energy. Or leaving a room or leaving a party or a get together or something because how it is making you feel at that moment. And when we think of boundaries, when you think of setting them boundaries and them intentions, relationships work best when you're clear about your expectations and needs. We can show ourselves and others respect by setting clear and consistent boundaries. Most of us, for boundaries for us, is rules and guidelines that tell others how we want to be treated. And that's important for us because many of us just feel that people should automatically know how you want to be treated, know where you draw the line at. But in the whole reality of it, they don't know. They don't know because you're not setting it. But it can be sometimes that you're just not clear on what you are wanting from that relationship, whether it be friendship, companionship, marriage, or whatever relationship that you are in. So it is very, very, very important for us to set those boundaries because, and then also you have to look, sometimes we can have the boundaries and they're not strong boundaries. And many ways that you could determine if you don't have strong boundaries, if you're left with very little time to yourself because you didn't voice your concerns or your issues or your reasoning. You say yes when you really want to say no because you're afraid of letting someone else's down. Even though when it comes to them, they don't mind saying no to you. You feel guilty to book me time. You often feel others take advantage of you. You feel responsible for solving other people's problems. You feel depleted from so much overgiving. You don't speak your truth and your self-sacrifice in order to avoid conflict. So those are many things that if you're experiencing any of those, like you need to set stronger boundaries. And it's not only for the other party, but it's for yourself as well. We need to recognize when we need that downtime. We need to recognize when we are feeling neglectful or disrespected. Because it's all about self-awareness, self-accountability, and like self-reflection. Like, what do you like? What makes you feel comfortable? So many ways you could look at yourself as having a healthy set of boundaries and you are respecting it and you are voicing it and your relationships are aware of your boundaries that you have. A lot of your needs are met. A lot of your needs get met when you have boundaries because people know how to treat you, what to expect, and what you will not tolerate. You have less anger and less resentment towards anything. because your needs are being met. Your feeling of peace and safety is there. Have you ever had that sense of, I can't explain this feeling, but I'm just so at peace and I am so happy? That's because them boundaries are in place and you set them. Less conflict in any relationship that you have. How can it be conflict if your boundaries are there and that person is respecting your boundaries? So they're not trying to put you in situations that they know for a fact that you won't tolerate it, you're going to say no to. Improve communication skills with anybody that you with. So you're not having meaningful conversations that they know that you're not going to have, because that's a no communication zone. Let's just say that. Your greater self-esteem. Your self-esteem is greater because you don't have to worry or stress about anything other than what you need to worry and stress about. And sometimes it's healthy to deal with life. I always say life is it's a journey. We deal with life every day. Less anxiety and stress. Again, you don't have that stress and anxiety of dealing with stuff or problem solving or saying yes to things that you want to say no to because you don't want to hurt nobody else's feeling, trying to do stuff for other people and neglecting your own needs. So that stress and that anxiety is decreased or non-existent because you have set clear and intentional boundaries. Increase your self-confidence. Your confidence is increased because you are self-aware. You know who you are. You know what you expect. Others know what you expect. That's a confidence within itself. And feeling understood and accepted. That's one of the big things that a lot of us go through every day, is that feeling of people not understanding you. So what you intend to do is you keep trying to explain yourself. You keep trying to explain your point of view to people that don't get your point of view, that don't understand. And that could be frustrating. And in a sense, you don't feel accepted. So when you set those clear boundaries and clear intentions, people are not confronting you with issues or situations that they know you're not going to tolerate. In hindsight, you feel more understood and accepted by them because they get it. You don't have to explain yourself in any situations. And a lot of us are afraid to set those boundaries because we are afraid of the backlash. But when you think about setting your boundaries and talking to people, first of all, you shouldn't be associating with anybody that are not clear in their communication. And when I say clear in their communication, I'm saying are not receptive or understanding or even trying to hear what you have to say. Because all that's going to cause you to be is mentally exhausted and draining. In turn, leads to that anxiety and stress, which also leads to that misunderstood and feeling not accepted because they are not trying to hear your point of view. And that takes me back to just the accountability portion of your boundary setting. If you're talking to somebody that don't feel accountable or don't feel like they are doing anything wrong at all, you don't need to be talking to that person anyway. If that person is not open-minded about your feelings and your viewpoint on it, but you are understanding to theirs, it's something wrong with that. So we have to sometimes look at the bigger picture of situations. It's not us. Sometimes it's the person that you're interacting with, which leads me to you saying it's okay to block people out. It's okay to not be around. And it's okay to not have certain people in your life because they cause that stress and anxiety because they don't respect your boundaries. Even if you are trying to respect them yourself, why do you want someone in your life that you keep having to enforce something on? Like, I don't care about how you view it, but these are my boundaries. This is what I will tolerate. This is what I will not tolerate. It's a whole respect thing. And if you can't respect them, then you don't need to be around me, because all you're doing is bringing unnecessary stress to my life that I don't need you to bring. So most boundaries serve two main functions. Boundaries tells others how you want to be treated, what's okay and what's not okay. And boundaries protect you from being mistreated. Boundaries create a healthy separation, physical or emotional, between you and others. They allow you to have your own personal space and privacy, your own feelings, thoughts, needs, and ideas. And they allow you to be yourself rather than extension of someone else or who someone else wants you to be. And that's big right now. Because how many times that we are not being our authentic self because we want to be what this person expects us to be for them to make them feel comfortable. We done. Ain't no more making somebody else feel comfortable and making yourself feel uncomfortable. That leads to unhappiness. That leads to sadness. We not about that life right now. And most people who didn't grow up with clear and consistent boundaries or expectations, like they probably don't come naturally to that person. So we have to take that into consideration too. Why we keep trying to explain and enforce boundaries on people that at the end of the day, they don't have clear, consistent boundaries on themselves. And most of them people feel guilty and unjustified in asking for what you want or what you need because they don't know how. They do not know how. So a lot of them things that we have to just be clear on setting boundaries. And most things that it can make setting your boundaries easier is just to be clear about what you want. Be clear about what it is that you want before you go telling people what you want. Be as clear, concise, and detailed as you can. And it will help you communicate your needs clearer and stay the course when it gets tough. Because it possibly will get tough depending on who you're talking to. Especially when you're preparing to set a difficult boundary. You may find it helpful to write down your boundaries, exactly what you want and why you want them. Be direct and don't apologize for your needs. Never apologize for your needs. Never apologize for what you want. You have to communicate your boundaries. It's most effective to be direct and sustain them. Another thing is expect resentment and don't let it deter you. Because most times when you're setting your boundaries, you're talking to somebody, they're not going to get you. But you have to keep at it. But if you see that you're not going nowhere and nothing is getting done or it's being resolved, then you need to just end the conversation and leave that person where they at. And setting limits is an ongoing process. Like you have to set your limits. It's ongoing. And sometimes they will change. Setting boundaries with adults is the same as parenthood. I hate to say that. Because we tell our kids what we expect, but you have to tell the adults what you expect too. And we need to continuously set the boundaries. We may need to set the same boundaries repeatedly with the same person. And as your needs change, you'll need to set different boundaries because as we grow and we evolve, we have to set those different boundaries. And boundaries are for your own well-being, not to control others. So some people look at boundaries as a form of control, and it's not control. It's a difference from control, and it's different from boundaries. Those are two different things. You're telling people, like, this is what I won't tolerate, versus somebody trying to control and make you do things that they want you to do their way. Those two different things. Boundaries should never be an attempt to control or punish others. They're actually a form of self-care, something you do for your own well-being. Boundaries protect you from being taken advantage of, overcommitting, overworking, feeling overwhelmed, and physical and emotional abuse or harm. Of course, we want people to respect our boundaries, but we have to accept that we can't make them. We should set boundaries as a statement of who we are and what we need. So, I'm going to end today's episode on that note. One thing I want everybody to know is that you are in control of your life. You set your own boundaries, you set your path, you see it clear, and don't allow anybody to veer you off from that path, because life is hard enough. But be strong, be fierce, and demand that respect that you need. And if you can't get it from who you're around, you need to change who you're around. I will see you on another episode. Thank you.